Sewage systems. Beginning in the Mesopotamian Empire, humans began using drains to rid of used water as well as stormwater. However, organized sewage systems did not arise until after 3000 BC in the Indus Valley. For example, the Minoan civilization used brick-lined channels as well as terracotta pipes that carried sewage and stormwater out of the city. Similarly, the Harappans developed a drainage system made up of underground drains that were covered by stone or clay bricks. Expanding on earlier developments, the Romans created a relatively complex sewage system of their own that became known as the Cloaca Maxima. It was comprised of open drains which rid of stormwater as well as cesspools which collected sewage. Once sewage gathered in the cesspool, the heavier waste sank to the bottom while the wastewater remained on top. The wastewater was then dumped into larger bodies of water, and the remaining waste matter was either buried or used as fertilizer. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Christianity took hold of Europe. Sanitation became unholy, and to some extent, people considered uncleanliness to be next to godliness. Thus, little progress was made in the development of sewer sanitation and treatment. Although some of the Roman sewer systems were preserved, many cities reverted back to only having open drains in the streets. It wasn't until the 1800s that any significant changes were made to wastewater treatment systems. By the time the 19th century came around, massive population growth brought about a typhoid and cholera epidemic in urban areas. Because of this, people once again began contemplating the consequences of poor sanitation. Thus, scientists discovered that these diseases were being spread through contaminated water. New improvements were being made to the inadequate sewage treatment systems. One of these such improvements included creating closed sewers that were not exposed to the open air. Debates arose among officials as well as engineers about whether wastewater should be dumped into larger bodies of water or if it should be sent to agricultural land. The former argument prevailed, and sewage was now being dumped into oceans and lakes. While this could have improved sanitation and water quality in one city, cities on the end of the dumping were negatively impacted. This problem brought up another debate over whether or not wastewater should be treated before being dumped or only before it was used for drinking. The latter option triumphed, and water was now being filtered only before it was sent out for drinking. When the 20th century began, it was no longer enough to be piping water out of cities. Once again, due to a growing population, as a result, engineers created a two-tier water system that consisted of primary and secondary sanitation. Although water sanitation and filtration will continue to be improved, scientists are now looking to extract the carbon-rich substances found in sewage and use them to produce biofuels. Harvesting these materials from waste matter would provide an alternative source of electricity and fuel. Additionally, wastewater also contains nutrients such as phosphorus and nitrogen that can be recycled and used as fertilizers. Thus, I believe that sewage systems have had an overall positive impact on today's society.